Welcome to Stoughton Media Access Cable. My name is Steve Kelly and I'm your host tonight. And our guest today is Frances Scarlata. Is that right, Scarlata?
That is correct.
Scarlata. And Frances is a registered dietitian. So Frances, welcome to the show.
Nice to meet you. Thank you very much.
Right, thanks. So registered dietitian, that screams to me like discomfort. It's like, oh, another diet.
Right. People hear the word diet and dietitian, so they get turned off or scared.
Yeah. Tell me why we shouldn't be scared.
Well, my goal is to help people change their lifestyle, improve their lifestyle by changing their eating habits. And my goal is to make it easy for them to do that. So I try to provide strategies that are realistic, so that way they don't have to feel like they're on a diet, but they are improving their health.
Give us like one example, just so we'll start off the show with somebody who may be keen on this right now, sitting in a chair going, yeah, I wish I could lose 5. Give us one strategy that you might employ.
So usually what I would do is I would ask the person, what do you typically eat in a day? So I always start off with where they're at, because everyone's at a different place. And so I try to figure out what do they need the most help with. A lot of people have a hard time with snacking at night. It's a habit, it's the end of the day, you're relaxing, you're sitting on the couch watching TV, you want to reach for the ice cream or the chocolate chip cookies.
Cheez-Its, actually.
Or the Cheez-Its, maybe something salty and crunchy.
Yeah.
So, in that case, what I help people with is mindful eating, actually, because when you can increase your mindfulness, you can actually eat less and enjoy what you're eating. So I wouldn't necessarily tell someone they can't eat the foods they enjoy, but if you can be more mindful and really taste what you're eating, then that can help you lose weight, actually.
So a simple hint of like experiencing the food almost?
Literally, yeah. So just tasting your food. Because think about how many times do you sit down in a day and you eat something and you're not paying attention to it.
It's gone.
You look down, right, you look down at your bowl or your plate and you say, who took the food away from me? I don't remember eating all of it.
Right.
So just increasing mindfulness alone can help someone lose weight. And by not even making any changes to their diet or changing the food, they can lose weight by doing that.
What's your favorite food?
My favorite food? That's a really tough question. I have a lot. I would say pizza, actually.
Oh.
I love pizza. I really do.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But you're not going to be skinny if you make a diet of pizza.
Correct. So you can't eat pizza every day, every meal. So the key is moderation, and that's my philosophy with everything when it comes to diet and a healthy lifestyle. You don't have to avoid any particular food, but you need to find a way to add it into your diet, do it in a way that you can enjoy it and not overdo it.
Right.
So for me, when it comes to pizza, it's not something that I eat on a regular basis, but it's something I enjoy. And to be honest with you, I really like to cook, so it's something that I'll make at home. And according to my friends and family, I do make a pretty good pizza. So.
Excellent. So I'm thinking if I'm at home and I'm seeing the show, I'm like, I want to listen to this person because she's going to give me a license to eat pizza. Someone else is going to say, wait a minute, she doesn't know what she's talking about. Tell us why you know what you're talking about. What's your background?
So I'm a registered dietitian.
Yeah.
I'm also considered a nutritionist. And I'm also certified as a diabetes educator. So I went to school at Boston University. I received a bachelor's degree in nutritional science. Mm-hmm. After that, I completed my dietetic internship at Mount Auburn Hospital. And then from there, I took an exam to become registered and recognized as a dietitian. And so I've been working in this field for 8 years now. And I recently, past 2 years, became certified as a diabetes educator. So I do have a lot of experience working with people that need help losing weight and improving their health. So improving their blood sugar, improving their blood pressure, cholesterol, etc.
Now you also mentioned the word lifestyle. Mm-hmm. So lifestyle and diet are pretty connected. Can you maybe tune us in a little or tune us up about that?
Sure. So, diet and food is so important. It's part of everyone's life, right? So we can't live without food. And so diet is a part of your lifestyle, but it's not the only thing. So the other thing that I talk about with patients or people that I work with is just being active and exercising and just in general, what you do day to day. So maybe it's not setting exercise goals, but how can we find a way for you to increase your physical activity and just get you moving? Yeah. Because we're so used to sitting in a chair and driving places and taking the extra steps of just taking the stairs, which I'm sure many people have heard so many times, those steps really do add up. So
instead of the elevator, even if you go slow, take the stairs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It really is worth it. Have you ever worn a pedometer before?
Yeah, not a pedometer, but I actually wear a fuel.
Fitbit or a fuel,
Yeah, a fuel band, yeah.
Yeah, so there are a lot of devices out there that help you track your steps today.
Yep.
Pedometers are great. It helps you set a number goal as to how many steps that you want to take per day. So I find that people really enjoy having that goal. So even if you're unable to go to the gym or exercise, you know, it motivates you to just keep moving, which is important.
Wow. Okay. Now, this can be a cutting edge interview in this way. Last night or yesterday, Apple came out with the newest of the new watches.
Right.
And so that is going to have a pedometer and a heart rate monitor and all that. So do you see people benefiting from that, or is that over the top?
I think I definitely see people benefiting from that, especially if you're a numbers person. You know, some people really do appreciate a solid goal where they have a number that they're aiming for per day. Heart rate's important too, so let's say you are trying to lose weight, you feel like your weight has plateaued and you're exercising. You know, maybe you need to step up your exercise. Maybe you've been doing something for the same thing that you've been doing for a long time, so you need to find other activities that will increase your heart rate. So having that heart rate on your watch and seeing, you know, is my heart rate going up enough, that can help you maybe break through your weight loss or your plateau.
Right.
Yeah.
So on this fuel device, I don't know if the camera can see us, but I'll push the button, and if you can see it in the audience, it shows almost 3,000 points. So that's a goal that I have, is to try to get 3,000 points every day.
Excellent.
So and it relates to the amount of exercise that you can do.
Excellent.
So switching gears a little to diets,
Yes.
And I also want you to address, if you would, a little bit about how scientists, you have a scientific nutritional background. Scientists say butter's good for you, butter's bad for you, salt's good for you, salt's bad for you, honey's good for you, honey's bad for you. So I want to get to that and what you think of that. At what point do we have to tune it out and come up with a better plan?
Right.
But and along those lines, so one of my friends recently has tried to lose weight by doing what he called a paleo diet. Paleo.
Yep, paleo diet.
Okay, so
it's
what is
actually it's been a diet that's been around for a while, but it's only recently gained a lot of popularity. So you've heard of it? Your friends talked about it.
Yeah.
It's also referred as the Stone Age diet or the hunter-gatherer diet. So basically, think of what cavemen used to eat years, thousands, and millions of years ago.
Not vegetables, huh?
Right, hardly any vegetables. But really, a bulk of their diet was plants. If they were lucky, they killed an animal and used the game meat. Maybe they caught a fish. But really, the bulk was fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds. So the paleo diet is based on those foods. So I think that it can help someone lose weight, absolutely, because it actually gets you away from processed foods. And processed foods are things that you don't find naturally. For example, bread would be a processed food. So even if you're choosing whole grain bread, we would still consider that a processed food. So the paleo diet avoids all of those foods. So it's mainly meat, fish, fruits, vegetables, and some nuts. No peanuts, no peanut butter. Yep, I know, it's a tough one.
Yeah.
But
I had a
that's
peanut butter sandwich today.
so not paleo friendly. But I think for some people it can help them lose weight, again, because they're staying away from really the junk food. But it is a very restrictive diet. And if you're not careful and not eating a variety of fruits and vegetables, you could actually become deficient in certain vitamins and minerals.
So are you talking about like vitamin D, vitamin B? What kind of vitamins do you mean?
Yep, so vitamin D, calcium are the two main ones really, because the paleo diet does not include any dairy. Dairy is a good source of calcium. Ideally, you choose low-fat or fat-free to lower the amount of bad fats that you get from dairy. You can get calcium from green leafy vegetables. However, you really have to focus on eating those to get enough. So for some people who want to do the paleo diet, they may actually benefit from taking a calcium supplement or meeting with a dietitian to ensure that you're meeting all your nutrient needs.
Do you recommend, I mean, it seems like in this day of specialization, we almost overdo it. It's like, okay, I have to have someone for braces, someone else for teeth. Do you recommend a dietitian and it's not over the top? I mean,
I
I'm
really
asking a
do.
dietitian,
Right.
So tell me why that makes sense instead of just sort of following a regular plan that you might have grown up with, let's say.
Well, I think that, today 2/3 of the American population is overweight or obese. So there's clearly an epidemic going on. And people are having a hard time losing weight and keeping it off. I think programs like Weight Watchers and other weight loss programs are great because they do help people lose weight, but those are really programs where people feel like they're on or off. So if you're on Weight Watchers, you tend to do well. When you're off of it, then you really go off, and you go back to old habits. So I think that meeting with a dietitian is important. First of all, just to make sure that you are eating a well-rounded diet, getting all your nutrients. But also, we really promote lifestyle change. So instead of feeling like you're on or off a diet, we really help you strategize and come up with easy, realistic goals that you can achieve that move you towards that direction of lifestyle change. So I think it's something that can help people maintain their weight loss, because that's, I think, one of the biggest problems. People know how to lose weight, go on a crash diet, starve yourself, over-exercise, but you can't maintain that for the rest of your life. So that's where a dietitian comes in handy.
So I need help, and I'm not sure that other people in the audience might also, I think they definitely agree that I need help, but they might also need help. I am somewhat busy. So yesterday, I got up, I had a banana before I did some exercise. Didn't eat again until 2:30 because I got busy. So what should I have done different instead of pushing off till 2:30 and ended up running into a sub shop and getting an egg salad sandwich?
Exactly, because you were starving,
Yes.
right?
Yes,
Before you
exactly.
realize it, you're like, oh, it's 2 o'clock, I haven't eaten, I'm so hungry.
Right.
I need a big meal to help fill me up because your body needs the energy. So a big part of that is just making sure you have some food, healthy food options stocked in your refrigerator that you can just grab and eat when you're in a rush or on the go. So, it doesn't have to be necessarily preparing a large meal at breakfast time or even at lunchtime if you eat lunch a little bit earlier than 2. But finding snacks maybe that you can keep in your house. Unsalted roasted nuts are great, or even lightly salted depending on your medical conditions.
Yep.
Maybe some Greek yogurt, low fat or fat free for some protein.
That's because you're Greek, though. It could be French vanilla. No.
That is true. Some people will prepare things in advance. Easy things like hard-boiled eggs, for example. If you like eggs are actually good for you. Okay. They provide a lot of nutrition. So, make a batch ahead of time, then you have something you can grab. And for some people, right, they get busy, they don't think about it, before they know it, they're starving.
Yeah, that's
It's
me.
as simple for some people as setting an alarm or scheduling it in. Most people do have a schedule, or they have something planned over the course of the day. So just saying to yourself, 10 o'clock is time for me to eat. I need to take the 10, 15 minutes out of my entire day to fuel my body. So that way, you don't wait till you're starving to eat, because then we know what happens, right? When you wait a long time,
Overeat.
we end up overeating, right? So it's all
And
about.
I tend also to eat even more after that. It's a sort of, even though I didn't eat anything from 7 to 2:30, then I somehow feel like that was my breakfast, and then I have another meal and then a late meal.
Right, exactly. So you end up eating more.
Yeah.
Yep, and it's a problem for a lot of people. But I think, again, being mindful, starting with that, and asking yourself, am I hungry in the morning? Am I not paying attention because I'm so busy and distracted? What can I do to help me change that? So meeting with a dietitian, we can really customize things for you, because what works for you doesn't work for someone else. It might not necessarily, because everyone's different. Everyone has a different schedule and lifestyle. So
Very interesting you said that. Talk to me a little bit about metabolism. How do you say that?
metabolism.
Metabolism, that's what I was missing,
Yep.
the accent.
Yep.
Metabolism.
Yep.
I have a friend, a very experienced runner. He's done over 100 marathons. And at about age 50 plus, he felt his metabolism changed, and he started gaining a little pot belly. And he's going to hate me because if he sees the show, by the way. And but at any rate, he's aware, and he's trying to work on that. But he feels that his metabolism all of a sudden changed. So here's a guy, and if you're in the audience, very unlikely you've done 100 marathons. So here's a guy that has done 100 marathons, and he's pushing more weight than he wants to. Now, he's probably skinny to most people, but for him, it's too much.
Right.
So is it his metabolism? Are we all going to suffer as we get older, this inability to put away calories better?
Well, as we get older, our ability does change. So our metabolism decreases over time, gradually year after year. So that's just part of the aging process. I'm not sure why your friend all of a sudden started gaining weight. So things that I would ask him would be, were there any life changes that happened? Because sometimes life changes that you don't really pay attention to change the way you've been eating. So different stressors, for example. And he's been running marathons for a long time. Is his activity level the same? Has that changed?
Pretty strong. He's a very high level.
Another question I would ask is he doing any strength training? So cardiovascular activity like running and getting your heart rate up is absolutely important, but strength training is also important for increasing your metabolism.
What kind of strength training?
Yep. So strength training would be using free weights at the gym, using machines, resistance bands, anything that's going to build your muscle or your lean body mass or tone it, basically.
What about swimming?
Swimming is great too, yep. So that can help. I wouldn't consider that strength training necessarily, but it does help to tone your muscles. So, sometimes it is just doing a different activity. Running over time, that's amazing that you can run that many marathons, but your body does get used to it, and sometimes it is worth switching the activity and trying swimming or even bicycling or something else. So,
I'd like to give the audience my best hint, the thing that's helped me the most. And over the last 2 years, I started to just do a simple touch my toes 10 times left, 10 times right. So 20 times every day. I have to tell you, that has made more comfortable change in my overall fitness. Like just now being able to tie my shoes with ease.
Yes.
Or, when you drop your comb on the floor or your keys. Before I did that, I was really noticing exertion in this little bend over state.
Right.
And now, so that's a simple, easy one for people. Just, I sort of face the west and do 10 touch my toes, and my cat comes running around, wants to get in the way. I turn around and do 10 more. That is like the 30 seconds a day has, of all the things that I do, running, bike riding, swimming, that has made more difference than anything.
Yeah. Well,
so that's
stretching. I mean, that's a key component of fitness that a lot of us neglect because we feel like we don't have time for it, or we don't really see the benefit of stretching right away.
Yeah.
But in your case, you actually did see the benefit of stretching over time. And it makes it easier to move, and when it's easier to move, you're more likely to exercise, right?
Right, and I think that the exercise was tightening me a bit.
Exactly.
And making it even harder to,
absolutely.
to just bend over and get a set of keys.
Right.
Right. And once I started that simple, that's got to be the easiest cure. I mean, anything else, if someone says let's jog 2 miles, you're like, no, for the average person.
Well, that's a really good point, because I think a lot of us set unattainable goals. If we want to lose weight, or if we want to start exercising, we say, all right, I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week. It's like, wait a second. If you're not going to the gym at all right now, why do you think you're going to go from 0 to 5?
Yeah, okay.
So maybe just aim for 1 to 2 days a week. Set attainable goals that you can achieve, because once you feel like you've accomplished something, that's your incentive to keep going. So for you, just touching your toes, doing this simple 30-second activity a day, that kept you motivated and increased your motivation to keep going.
It had direct results too.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It was clearly I started to see an ease in everyday activity because of this one simple, one easy, no equipment, no machinery, very little special time devoted.
It's free, right? You don't have to pay anyone to do it.
Yeah, and so because there were like some results right away, it really made a difference. I like that. So if I had diabetes, what would I have that would give me simple results like that in terms of how would you dictate my breakfast and my exercise schedule? What would my morning schedule look like for you?
If you had diabetes, and if I could recommend anything.
Yeah, let's say 5'9", 230 pounds. I think that would be like a standard person, what you called obese.
Maybe. I have to do a little calculation to
determine
that.
Well, it could be more of a manly kind of a weight.
Right.
But obese. And so what would you say for a person like that?
I mean, ideally, you would start your day off with breakfast. So probably within 1 to 2 hours of waking, you would have something to eat. It doesn't have to be a big meal. It can be a snack even. It could be a piece of fruit with some peanut butter or nuts, for example. Just something to get your metabolism running, started. And also, it's important if you have diabetes to keep your blood sugar levels stable and steady. So having something in the morning is key for that. And then for someone who has diabetes, it's important to eat something every, say, 3 to 4 hours. That would be ideal. Another way to put it is if you're going to go more than 5 hours between meals, it would be important to have a snack between those meals. And so what I usually tell people is you want to have a balanced, portion-controlled snack, which is very broad in general. But basically, you want to have food that has carbohydrates in it. So carbohydrates would include, say, fruit, crackers, or bread. Ideally, be whole grain so you can get some fiber. Fiber is good for lowering blood sugar. So in addition to eating a portioned amount of the carbohydrate, you want some lean protein also. So that could be maybe a piece of low-fat or reduced-fat cheese, maybe going back to that fat-free or low-fat Greek yogurt.
Okay, Greek yogurt, okay.
Peanut butter, nuts, again. So it's all about the balance, basically. So I would have you have a breakfast, have a mid-morning snack, have something at lunchtime. So we'd come up with something customizable to you. Exercise-wise, it doesn't really matter when you exercise. It's basically when it's best for you. But if you have diabetes and if you're on certain medications that can lower your blood sugar, then it is important to have a snack before you exercise and carry some glucose tablets or some sort of carbohydrate with you at the gym or wherever you are to be safe.
Do you recommend like Gatorade, for instance? Is that too sugary?
Not necessarily. Yeah, I would only recommend the Gatorade if someone was experiencing a low blood sugar. But if you're not, and if you don't have diabetes, I actually don't recommend Gatorade because it's extra calories, extra sugar that you really don't need. I tell people, I ask people, would you rather eat your calories or drink them? Most people say, I'd rather eat them. So, don't go to the Gatorade. Go to the real food.
Okay. You've talked about you have a background as a registered dietitian. And by the way, you informed me earlier before the show that dietitian is spelled with 2 T's, which I thought D-I-E-T-I-T. I-A-N, and I thought it was I-C-I-A-N.
Yep.
But, and by the way, I want to thank our producer, Roy, who's a volunteer and does a fabulous job, and Dave is out back as well. And I'm wondering, Roy, could you put up Francis's information, so if somebody did want to get an email out there, so, and if he can't, which I might be getting a signal, Francis, tell us your email, so if somebody wanted to get a hold of you and say, hey, could I schedule an appointment even or something?
So it's funny that you actually are asking me that question because I recently created my brand new email address that I'm using.
Okay.
And off the top of my head, I don't know it.
I think it's Francis Scarlata
RD at gmail.com. I believe that's what it is.
Yeah.
I actually created it specifically for this show.
Okay, good.
And so I apologize.
It's Francis with an E, F-R,
Yes.
E-A-N-C-E-S.
Yes.
S-C-A-R-L-A-T-A.
Correct.
R-D.
RD.
Gmail.
At gmail.com.
At gmail.
Yes.
.com. Okay, so
Yeah.
we've already got it out there, which is
And if
great.
it's not, if we can't put it on the TV screen, it will be online.
Oh, look, they
possibly?
spelled it dietitian with a C.
Oh, that's okay. It happens all the time. I'm used to it.
Yeah, no, I didn't know either.
Yeah.
So I think that's very, very interesting. So as a registered dietitian, you've been, I'm going to use the term fed, if you would, fed a whole bunch of information. How difficult is it for you to keep up with the latest and the greatest and the things that they keep saying? Well, now this, I just saw a study that said that it doesn't matter whether you eat breakfast in the morning anymore. Did you see this study where for years they told us that you need to eat your breakfast in the morning, get the body going and get that. Now they've come out with a study that says, well, it was a blind study, I understand, that tested across, I don't know, several hundred people, and it didn't seem to make any difference if they started their meal in the afternoon. So as much as you want to have confidence in what you share, Does that undermine you at all?
It doesn't, actually.
No, she says no, it does not.
To answer your first question, it is hard to keep
Yeah.
up with all the studies that are coming out.
Right.
The key is you want to look at who is putting on the study, who's doing the research. If it's funded by a company, then it might be a little skewed, right?
Yep.
But, to counteract what you said about that study that came out, where you don't need to eat breakfast to lose weight, there are plenty of other studies that actually do show that eating breakfast can help you lose weight. So you really, you need to gather all the information, and for the general person, it's hard because you hear one thing in the news one day and then they contradict themselves the next day. So that's where my job comes in, and I help clarify, what is right, what is true. And so I feel pretty confident in saying that overall for most people, eating breakfast is important. If you skip breakfast, then you probably aren't getting all your nutrients, number one. So just in order to maintain your health, it's important to eat the breakfast.
How would you know if you were getting, is there a way that you might feel, I don't feel very vitamin D today. How would you know that you've got your nutrients?
That's a good question. Most people don't feel anything. There are certain vitamins and minerals that you would probably notice. So maybe if you were vitamin B12 deficient or iron deficient, you would feel lethargic because that would be related to having anemia. But for someone who has a vitamin D deficiency, which is very common today, you wouldn't have any symptoms. So it's basically going to your doctor, having your blood work done regularly, maybe at your annual exam. And if you've never had a vitamin D level checked, it doesn't hurt to ask.
Right.
But it's safe to say that most of us in New England do have low vitamin D levels.
Especially toward the winter, perhaps?
Yeah, absolutely, when we're not out in the sun. And even in the summer, where we are, latitude-wise, it's too high to really get enough vitamin D from the sun, basically. So there are tools to help track what you're eating so you can get a general sense if you're not getting enough of a particular nutrient. For example, there are applications that you can download on your phone or things that you can do online. One of the applications that I recommend is called MyFitnessPal.
MyFitnessPal.com?
Yep, so it's online, or you can download it on your phone.
Okay.
If you have a phone that does that. So basically, you input what you're eating over the course of the day, and it will generate a report on, are you meeting your carbohydrate goals? Are you meeting your vitamin C goals? Are you exceeding your sodium goal?
So you would set that up for somebody?
I could set that up for someone, or anyone can sign up on their own, basically. So that's a tool that anyone could use. Being a dietitian and studying diets, basically, and working with so many different people, when I assess someone's diet, I can generally get a sense of what they may be lacking in before I even run a report like that, based on, how many servings of each food group are you eating a day.
Right.
So those are things that I can generally estimate.
So what about the term saturated fats and how it relates to cholesterol? Can you clear that up for the audience?
Absolutely.
A little bit?
Sure. So this can get very complicated, especially today with all the new research going on. And there was a big article in Time magazine, I don't know if you saw it, where it mentioned that butter was actually okay to eat. So what we do...
Do you agree?
Yes and no.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, it's hard to give a yes or no answer to that. But basically, saturated fat can increase your cholesterol levels, okay? Saturated fat is found in animal products. So when you think animal products, you think beef, you think maybe chicken, eggs, butter, dairy, so anything that comes from an animal, right? So what we're learning actually is that there may be a type of saturated fat that may not increase our cholesterol levels. And so that's where it's kind of getting a little fuzzy in the literature, maybe what people are reading, or what they're reading in Time magazine or on the internet. So overall, we still stand by the fact that saturated fat can increase your cholesterol levels. So you do want to reduce those foods in your diet. I think part of the problem is for years we've been telling people, go on a low-fat diet because fat's bad for you. And instead of eating fat, eat carbohydrates. So people were reducing the fat in their diet, reducing the healthy fat in their diet, and replacing it with highly refined carbohydrates, white bread, white pasta, bagels, white rice, crackers. So those foods are actually not good for your cholesterol levels, and those may have a negative impact on your cholesterol and your heart. So if you're going to be reducing your intake of saturated fat, you want to replace it with healthy fat. So where do we find healthy fat? Fish, nuts, olive oil, canola oil, avocados, and you also want to replace it with fiber. So fiber is found in plant foods, whole grains, fruits, vegetables, and beans.
Do you ever get, sort of switching gears a little, do you ever get frustrated when you're counseling someone and they're just not following the plan?
It can get frustrating, absolutely. But at the same time, you know, I'm there for encouragement and support, and I know it's difficult. You know, it might be easier for one person to follow the goals and the recommendations that I set, but for others it may be more difficult and challenging for different reasons. So my goal is to figure out, you know, what are the barriers? You know, why is this person having a hard time succeeding? You know, and it may be as simple as, my kitchen is very messy. My counters are always full with papers and junk, and I don't have any room or space to prepare a meal. And that's why when you ask me to make something at home, it's difficult for me. You know, so it might be something like that where, okay, so basically we need to get a little more organized if that's possible. You know, and that may be the breakthrough that we're looking for. So it really varies from person to person.
Okay. And I'm going to throw you completely out of what we've been talking about. What would you be doing if you weren't a diet nutritionist right now?
Oh, wow, that's a really good question.
Yeah. So what drew, in other words, to try to draw out what drew you to this, what would you do if you didn't do this?
Well, let's see. Originally, when I went to school, I was a biology major, and I didn't know what I wanted to do with biology. I didn't want to go to med school, but I did like studying the human body. I didn't want to work in a lab for the rest of my life. So I found out that where I went to school at BU, they offered a nutrition program. So I looked into that and I fell in love with it, basically. And that's why I'm here today, studying nutrition and being a dietitian. But if I wasn't a dietitian, I'm not really sure. Probably something science related, absolutely, but I'm not sure what I would be doing. Maybe a teacher.
Okay. So if you were to recommend to some, let's say there's a young person in the audience who's not sure what they're going to do, why would you recommend the nutrition or the biology studies?
Well, I think if someone is interested in a job where it's very rewarding and they want to help people, I think being a dietitian can totally fulfill that. And if you again, love studying the human body, but don't really see yourself going to med school, you still can have that. You can still work with patients and almost feel like you're a big part of their health and their wellness without really being a doctor. And you can help them in similar ways. I can't prescribe medicine, but I can prescribe a healthy diet. So.
All right. Well, I have a couple of related questions. One is about the cost of what you are and now. How is healthcare handling that? But before I do that, let's talk about something fun. What about the nutrition for pets? Now, you're a new pet owner.
I am.
So how about, what can we do for our pets? If we've got a cat at home or a dog, should we be also thinking for them, let's get you more nutritionally up to speed? So what do you think? Have you thought about that?
I have thought about it. I definitely have thought about it. I'm not really sure. I haven't done any research on veterinary nutrition, but I would say it's probably pretty similar to humans, where I'd say feeding our pets food that is not as processed and maybe doesn't have all these additives and preservatives, maybe more natural food is, and the same thing, we're recommending to people. I think that would be beneficial for them. But other than that, I don't know.
So we're going to have to do another show with you.
Yeah.
You're going to have to
Focus
do a whole bunch of research.
Veterinary nutrition, yeah.
All right, so you can tell people if you've got a cat, you want to start to feed them little pieces of spinach.
Right, exactly.
And little bits of either egg white or egg yolk, whichever's better.
Right, yeah.
So I thought you might like that,
Yeah,
that line of questioning. So let's go back to what seems to be really big now, wheat and gluten-free and celiac disease, and all of these things seem to be coming to the forefront, and many people feel that it's the curse almost, that it explains all of their ill symptoms in life. Tell us about that. What's
gluten.
up with that?
Yeah, and that also can get very confusing. So there are some people who do need to avoid gluten. And gluten is a protein basically found in certain wheat products, so wheat, barley, and rye. Some oats as well. And so people who have celiac disease, they can't process the gluten properly. They're intolerant to it, so it actually destroys the lining of their small intestine. And over time, that could lead to cancer, could lead to diabetes. So it's actually harmful for them. There are some people who are sensitive to gluten, but don't have celiac disease. So in that case, it's not necessarily harmful to them to eat it, but they might experience unpleasant symptoms, like bloating, for example,
Right.
or cramping.
Yep.
So in that case, if you're reducing your intake of foods that have gluten, you're usually reducing your intake of processed foods. So we're going back to let's go back to eating more whole, natural foods and staying away from all this junk.
Yep.
Not to say that a gluten-free diet that it doesn't have junk food in it, because it can. Like potato chips, for example, are considered gluten-free, but they're not healthy necessarily. So,
Yeah.
But I think in general, some people who avoid gluten, tend to stay away from some baked goods, for example. So that might help them lose weight and get healthier. But other than that, I mean, they're really, for everyone else who doesn't have celiac disease, in my opinion, and based on my research and knowledge, there really isn't a reason to avoid gluten. Because foods that have gluten, like whole grains, for example, and barley and rye, those foods can actually provide us with a good amount of fiber. And fiber is important for a number of different reasons, but it's good for your heart, good for your digestive system. So it's not something that I would tell people to stay away from, basically, unless they had to.
So if you're sensitive to gluten, you can have potato chips.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Let me ask you this. A lot of guys watch the game, and ladies watch the game on Sunday. They love to have some chips. Give us a recommendation. What chips can you have? And should you have it with, I liked what you said about avocado. What about cheese spread? That's probably not it. So give us some Sunday afternoon.
So you're watching a football game.
Yeah, and what can you have? Like, what's the best?
So I would say if we're talking about chips, I'd say go for a corn chip that doesn't have a lot of sodium in it, number one.
No Fritos.
Not right.
Did I say that? Oh, I'm going to get sued by Frito now. Okay, no corn chips. Fritos are great.
So yeah, like tortilla chips, as long as they're not loaded with salt, that can work. There are some multigrain chips out there now that taste just like regular tortilla chips, but they actually have more fiber. So I'd recommend probably a multigrain tortilla chip.
Okay.
And again, it's all about being mindful of your portion. So what I recommend to strategize is instead of eating from the bowl, get a plate or your own little bowl, put what you want to eat in that and enjoy that. Because when we sit in front of the table with the bowl of chips,
the whole bowl, yes.
And as we're talking, we don't realize what we're eating, and then I might blame you for eating all the chips, even though I was the one who ate them all, right? So it's good to make your own plate or have a small bowl. So, what do you want to dip your chips into? Salsa, like a lower sodium salsa would be a good idea. Vegetables, it's all vegetables, so that's great, right?
Okay, so that's a great one. So start to use low sodium salsa a lot more, let's say, because it is vegetables.
Sure, and you might not find one that's labeled low sodium, but if you're familiar with reading food labels, you basically want to compare different brands and choose the one that has a little less sodium in it.
Okay.
Going back to the avocado, guacamole is great if you like that. Avocado has a lot of healthy fat, which can help to lower your cholesterol and can actually help to raise your good cholesterol. So you could make it from scratch if you wanted to. If you did that, then you have full control over what you're putting in there. So it'd be preservative-free, maybe a little bit lower in salt. But you could also buy a ready-made guacamole as well. So those would be ideal. Let's see, hummus maybe. I don't know if you like that, but like a bean dip basically would work well too. So I'd say the worst offender is, what most of us love, cheese. Having a nice creamy cheesy dip.
Yeah.
So it's all about moderation. I wouldn't ever tell someone you can't ever eat that, but if we're watching football, 3 nights a week here. And,
Yeah, that's Monday night, Thursday night, and
know,
Sunday, right? That's three.
And if you're having the cheese dip every single time, then that's a little much. But, maybe once in a while you go to your friends to watch the game or someone comes over, then that would be where moderation comes in. It's like, all right, I'll have the cheese dip today, but I'll go back to my salsa and guac the next day.
So those are great tips. I like that.
Okay.
Now, probably people don't realize, I didn't realize till last year, you can go out for Chinese food and you can ask for everything to have no or low salt.
Mm-hmm.
So, like rice would, if you have, I eat vegetable fried rice, and I always ask now, can I get it no salt or low salt?
Mm-hmm.
And that works. So people might not even know that you can ask. So I want to share that.
Yeah, making special requests when you go out to eat.
So that's what I wanted to give you a chance to address.
Yep.
So what are your favorite, like, out to eat options? What can we do besides, so talk about special requests that you can make.
Sure. So what some people will do is they'll ask for their food to be prepared in olive oil instead of butter, for example.
Okay.
Maybe they use less seasoning on your steak.
Okay.
In general, things that are blackened tend to be really high in sodium or salt, so I recommend that people just choose, a grilled salmon, for example,
okay,
or grilled chicken as opposed to blackened.
Okay.
Sauces can have a lot of fat and calories. So, maybe instead of having your dish come with all the sauce already on it, kind of like the salad dressing that you've probably heard of, get it on the side, and then you control how much you put on.
Yeah, so salad dressing, when you have salads, always ask for the dressing on the side.
Right, because a lot of times they just put way more than we need. So if you don't need all those extra calories and fat, then, don't use them for salad dressing. Use them for something else that you enjoy, that you really want. So always go with dressing and sauce on the side, basically. I would say making sure you have a vegetable as well is important. It could be a salad that you start off with. It could be, whatever the restaurant is offering as a side, but just to help you balance your plate out. Vegetables are always great because they provide us with hardly any calories and they help to fill us up. So if you like them, try to eat more of them. What else when we're dining out?
Talk to me about potatoes. I mean,
Yeah.
I love garlic mashed potatoes.
Mm-hmm.
Bad for you, I'm assuming. And should you
Well, it depends
avoid
on how it's made. So that's where, dining out can be difficult because we're not really sure what the restaurant's using. Are they using cream? Are they using butter?
Yes.
If you're at home, you can make delicious garlic mashed potatoes that aren't as high in fat or calories or salt. So it just really depends on the ingredients going in there. I'd say dining out, go with a roasted potato or a baked potato because at least you know more about what you're getting in that sense, whereas mashed, we don't know what's in there.
So aim for things that you can filter out, can gain more or have more confidence in the knowledge of what they're doing to it.
Exactly. Yes.
So that's a good kind of very
I like
generalized
that.
tip.
Very good.
Yeah,
Yep.
good.
Yep.
All right. While we're moving in the show, I'm going to ask Roy to put up the credits. So Roy, if you can roll some credits for us, I think we have Gary to run them, and we'll see if we can catch Roy out of the control room.
The crew wants to thank Maxie's Delicatessen. That's at 117 Sharon Street in Stoughton. They're 781-341-1662. American Cancer Society. Yes, they're looking for volunteers. Drive cancer patients to and from their treatments. 1-800-ACS-6662. Or just go to www.cancer.org. Ilsa Mark's Food Pantry in St. Anthony's Free Market, 2 Park Avenue in Stoughton. For more information, call Christine Gallagher. That's at 781-341-0611 or 781-341-0549. Meals on Wheels. Just ask for Jessica. You'll find her at 781-344-8882, extension 2. Stoughton Penny Saver. Our business is advertising your business, they tell us. 27 Rose Glen Street, Stoughton, 781-344-4833. Community Forum showtimes in Stoughton. It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at 6 p.m., Monday at 8 p.m., Tuesday at 5 p.m., It's on Comcast Channel 9 and Verizon Channel 28. All comments and suggestions welcome. Contact us at communityforum1@yahoo.com. Community Forum showtimes in Easton. Mondays at 9 p.m., Tuesday at 8 a.m., Wednesdays 3 p.m., Saturday 10 a.m. And that too, Comcast Channel 9, Verizon Channel 22. Samaritans, they're at 41 West Street on the 4th floor in Boston, 02111. Their phone number is 617-536-2460. 24-hour helplines for Samaritans, and the number is 877-870-HOPE. That's 877-870-4673. Samaritans, you can find them at 800-252-TEEN. That's 252-8336. Or find
we would like you to be aware that support our library association. It's called SOLA. Stoughton has one of the most fabulous libraries. It's at 84 Park Street, Stoughton, Mass. Pat Basler's over there, and she has a great group of volunteers. So if you'd like to join them at SOLA, Stoughton at gmail.com is a great email to give them a call, or give them an email or a call, 781-341-0856. Also, the Stoughton Farmers Market. It's at the First Parish Universalist Church, 790 Washington Street, Stoughton Center. They're going to run right up till about the end of October, and I think there are some plans for a pumpkin giveaway, so you want to keep an eye on that. Every Saturday, 10 to 2, it's a nonprofit volunteer run, and it is absolutely a fabulous place to get vegetables, and this show is about getting healthy food, so they have all kinds of vegetables from Lane Gardens Farm and from Fairmont Farm. So also we have O'Brien's Bakery and Fresh Catch Seafood. There's always live music every single Saturday, so you can go down and get some entertainment, see local vendors, and help to build the community that Stoughton can be. And we want you to know about the International Forum Show, which is sort of the dream child of Roy Cohen here, and he produces it. We interview guests with local roots throughout the world via Skype. So Sundays at 8:30 p.m., Mondays at 11 p.m., Wednesdays in the morning, 9 a.m., just after a good breakfast, all right, one that doesn't have too many saturated fats. So Thursday at 9:30 p.m., Saturday at 12 noon, Comcast Channel 9, Verizon Channel 28. You can email our show if you have, let's say that you have a daughter who's visiting Australia and she'd like to do a Skype show, then you get a hold of Roy and we'll see if we can do a show. It's international.forum@yahoo.com, and you can call 781-760-6991, and you'll reach our volunteer producer, Roy Cohen, who's got a heart of gold and is trying to get everybody, get the best out of everyone to share great information. All right, and so now I'm back with Frances Scarlata, and Frances is a registered dietitian, spelled with 2 T's, and she's got some great ideas about how we can have a better lifestyle and live longer, healthier, right?
Correct, yes.
So
improve the quality of life.
Yeah, so improving the quality of life sounds easy to do, but as you get older, the changes of metabolism, the pressures of having to, let's say, produce X amount of income as you worry your way into retirement, that's a challenge for people as they overeat in place of sort of other things. What can you do, like what's some more general thoughts that might help someone get over that bump?
Yeah, like stress eating maybe, or emotional
Stress eating,
yeah.
Yeah, talk about that.
I mean, it's very common. Most of us eat for many reasons, not just because we're hungry. Maybe we're happy, sad, bored, or stressed. So really, I think it's really helpful if people can have a stress management technique in place that works for them. So that really varies for what works for everyone. It could just be going out for fresh air. For example, if most of us are working a full day in the office, we don't ever go out for a lunch break. I mean, that can really impact how you feel and can increase your stress levels. There have been a lot of studies done on that. So just going out at noon, taking a break, go get some fresh air, even if you don't go for a walk.
So change your environment.
Change your environment. That can definitely help. And when you feel calmer, you have more control with food. So you're less likely to stress eat. So making a change like that, which you might not think directly relates to what you're eating, can have an impact. other hobbies. Maybe it is exercise, yoga. Yoga is becoming very popular nowadays.
Right.
And there are different types, different levels. So, that might be a strategy that can help. Just deep breathing in general, just take a minute and just breathe, deep breath in, deep breath out. It's very calming and relaxing. Little things like that can help people who have a hard time with stress eating and staying away from it, basically. And again, going back to the mindfulness, paying attention to what you're eating, enjoying what you have in front of you. So a number of different things can help.
Right. Let's talk a little about alcohol, all right? Far be it from this show to recommend that you drink alcohol, but people that go out for, a date, or they go out with friends to a nightclub, or, a couple that goes out for a Friday night dinner, what are the drinks that they need to stay away from? Is it the sombrero that's not good for them, or is it the gin and tonic that's bad, or all alcohol's bad? Can you weigh in for us a little bit?
A little alcohol is good in moderation. I think everyone can enjoy
With
and benefit
pizza?
from it, right? With pizza
Moderation.
or Doritos, which one of my patients said to me this morning. But basically, you want to choose an alcoholic beverage that isn't loaded with sugar and fat, basically.
Give us some examples. Like what are the
best
choices?
In my opinion, a glass of red wine is probably one of the best things you can have, because it's not loaded with sugar, it's not loaded with calories. A 5-ounce glass of wine has about 120 calories, and it has antioxidants. So we're actually getting some benefits when we're drinking red wine. Maybe if wine's not your thing, if you like beer, it is worth finding a lighter beer that you enjoy, especially if you're trying to watch your weight. So maybe finding a lighter beer that tastes good to you. Some people complain to me, I'm so used to drinking my heavy beers, I don't like the light beers.
Yeah.
There might be something out there that might be worth changing to. If you're not a big drinker, however, it goes back to moderation. So enjoying a regular beer, once in a while is totally fine.
Right.
So the key is really watching out for the drinks that have a lot of sugar, like pina coladas, strawberry daiquiris. Margaritas can have a lot of sugar.
Okay. And sometimes they put salt around the rim, is that right?
Put salt
I mean,
around
I
the
wouldn't
rim.
know, but...
You don't drink margaritas, right? Yeah.
but no, I think that's probably something to be avoided, right?
Yeah,
It's a straight dose of salt.
Right,
And I think salt, my sense of it is salt and sugar are sort of two big culprits in the whole destroying your own body thing.
Well, think about foods that have salt on them. Potato chips, going back to the chips, for example. It's really hard to eat just one, maybe even two. The salt actually excites our brain, and when we eat it, we say, oh, we want more, and it's really hard to say no. So yes, in that sense, salt can be a bad thing. Some people who have high blood pressure, or maybe even have congestive heart failure, salt can really impact them negatively because it can continue to increase your blood pressure, and it can cause you to retain fluid and make it harder to breathe if you have congestive heart failure. So absolutely, sodium and salt and sugar are things that we want to reduce.
Okay. We haven't talked about it all in the interview about children. So let's say that you're 30 years old, you've got a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old. I imagine it's very difficult to get them both fed the same stuff. Do you have any recommendations for how you could direct your shopping, let's say, for younger children?
Good question. So I think, similar to adults, we don't want to not offer, fun foods to kids, or foods that we might not consider to be so healthy. So,
mac and cheese. My granddaughter,
Yeah.
Grandpa, do you have any mac and cheese?
Right.
The instant one? I'm
Right.
thinking it's terrible for her, but it's hard to get her anything else that she'll eat.
Right. So I think, foods like that, once in a while, we can absolutely fit in. Maybe if your granddaughter likes broccoli, for example.
She does.
Or some sort of vegetable, maybe
Yeah.
tomatoes or carrots. You can sneak that into something like mac and cheese, where now you've made it a little more nutritional, and you can feel a little bit better about, feeding that to your child. But it's looking at the whole picture and looking at the overall diet. So let's say your granddaughter or your child is eating fruit and likes healthy foods in general. They're not picky eaters. So having the mac and cheese in there is fine. That's okay. But if your child is eating a lot of white foods, which is very common, picky eaters, so you want to try to find ways to sneak the vegetables in. So mixing it into the mac and cheese. Sometimes setting games with the kids and having them aim for a goal of a certain amount of, let's say, new foods to try every week, and maybe using stickers as the incentive or whatever. That can help too.
All right.
So,
I want to switch gears because we're almost done. Everybody has coffee and everybody has tea. Is that damaging at all to our constitution, to what we're doing, or is it, what do you think?
Coffee and tea is actually good for you.
Ah.
It's all about what you put in there.
Yes.
So if you had to ask me, I'd say use milk instead of cream.
Skim milk?
Doesn't have to be skim.
Okay.
Yep, it could be regular milk. Whole milk or 2% milk is still better than cream. So that would be a stepping stone if you were trying to make your coffee a little bit healthier and lower in calories. Reduce your sugar. Maybe
No sugar.
Maybe if you can drink coffee or tea without sugar, that's perfect. Maybe if you're used to having 4 sugars in your coffee, try 2. So any way you can reduce that is going to be better. But coffee and tea on its own is great.
Okay. Well, we've only got a minute left. So kind of wrap it up, like if you only had 2 things that people should take away from this show, what would they be?
I would say that everything is good in moderation, and that's really the key. So when we are trying to lose weight and we put ourselves on diets, we tend to deprive ourselves of the foods that we enjoy, and that makes it really difficult to stick to that diet plan, and we end up gaining the weight back, and then it's this ongoing cycle, weight gain, weight loss. So I'd say set goals that are attainable and realistic and work from those, build from those, and then eventually over time, it will become a lifestyle change. So that way you can lose your weight and maintain your weight loss and feel better overall.
Well, it's been a wonderful interview. So we've had Frances Scarlata. She's a registered dietitian. She's given us all kinds of good hints. I'll give you one quick last question. How many times a week should you go on a scale?
Let's say once a week.
Once a week, okay. Thank you very much for watching. We hope you enjoyed the show.
Thank you so much for having me.